Ooh, I don't know about y'all, but I ate entirely too much for Thanksgiving. You know, over the past couple weeks, I have made these little videos showing the games that we play on game night. However, the week of Thanksgiving, we didn't have our typical game night, but I had a lot of family over to the house and we played a lot of different games. So I thought I'd share some of those with you, and some of those are brand spanking new. But first, the important part, the food. This year we did something non-traditional. We decided to go with smoked chicken and barbecue pork instead of turkey. And to be honest with you, I didn't miss the turkey. Of course, any good Southerner knows you gotta have some really good sauce to put on top of that barbecue. We had some really nice Cheerwine barbecue sauce, some regular barbecue sauce, and some hot sauce from Pucker Butt. Now, if that name Pucker Butt sounds familiar to you, it could be because you watch the show Hot Ones on YouTube, which features a lot of their hot sauces. In fact, one of the sauces we had is featured this season, and it's the next to hottest hot sauce they have in their lineup this year. Of course, we couldn't eat just meat, so we had to throw some vegetables in there, like your typical dressing, twice baked potatoes, some barbecue beans, lima beans, eggplant casserole, broccoli and rice, and the also standard here, mac and cheese. Okay, let's get on to some games. One of the hot games that we got to play is from AEG and designer John D. Clare, called Ready, Set, Bet. Now, this game was shown at Gen Con and it's just now recently come out, and I got a chance to play it with the entire family for the first time. In fact, we maxed out the number of players. We had 8 people playing this game. And if you hadn't heard of this, the gist of it is you're watching a horse race and then you're betting on the horses and you're trying to win the most money over 4 races. So you have these horses that are numbered 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 and 12 for the last horse. And what you do is somebody's going to roll 2 dice, and the number that is rolled will move that horse along the track. Now, the person controlling the horses is just going to continually roll the dice and keep moving the horses, while everybody else around the table is going to start making bets on which horses they think will win, place, and show. So as the racing is going on, they'll start dropping their chips onto the board in hopes of winning big if they guess right. But what's so cool is there's also other things on the board that you can bet on. There may be some cards that come out that will say, hey, all red horses will beat all the blue horses, etc. There's different conditions that you can bet on over the course of the game. And in addition, after the first round, people are going to get some special abilities they can use, maybe to add additional bets. One of the really cool ones was being able to place bets after the third horse is past the no bet line. This was one of those games that after the first round, I wasn't sure if people were getting into it. I guess they were just kind of getting the flow of the game. But by the 4th race, people were really into it. In fact, after no more bets were able to be placed, I was the one rolling the dice and moving the horses, and everybody was cheering for their favorite horse to win so they could come out on top in the end. Another game that Tony and I talked about from Gen Con was a game called Ole Guacamole from Scorpion Mask. Very, very simple word party game that, once again, our entire group really enjoyed. You got a deck of cards. The cards have some letters on them. The first person flips over one of the cards, and what they do is just say one word, as long as that word doesn't have the letter that's on the card. The next person flips over another card that has another letter. What they have to do is say a word associated with the previous word, but not use any of the letters on the card shown on the table. Play continues until somebody runs out of time. They can't come up with a word in 12 seconds, or they say a word consisting of one of the letters that's already on the table. And if that happens, they take all the cards to their play area. And what you do is you play through the entire deck, and the person with the fewest cards wins. Again, very easy game. We loved it at Gen Con. This is a very inexpensive game, one that I would really recommend to have for the family, especially around the holidays. Another game we got to the table is one of our favorites, is So Clover from Repro Productions. Every time I get this game out, people just absolutely love it. My family has played this several times, and it's one of those they just keep asking for to come back to the table, because it's a really fun co-op game where you're trying to basically solve a puzzle that they put before you with their board by trying to associate 2 different words to one word. Real, if you haven't tried it, I really recommend trying it out. I guess we end up playing a lot of games that were first announced or shown at Gen Con. Another one is Turing Machine. Now, we had talked about this in our Gen Con episode, but this is just now coming out for people to be able to get and play. If you like deduction games and numbers and some mathy elements to some puzzles, then you really should try this. This is one of the most clever games I've seen in quite a while, where you're trying to basically determine a 3-digit number. The digits will be anywhere from 1 to 5. And the way you determine it is by these clues that are put out on the table. And you're going to come up with a 3-digit guess. And you're going to take those 3-digit punch cards and put them together. And you're going to pick up the clue that you're trying to see if you're right or wrong or whatever. And you put that card behind the punch cards. And there's only one square showing once you line up on those cards. It's either going to be a check or an X. If it's a check, it means, okay, your guess is matching the condition of this puzzle. If it's an X, it means it doesn't. I'm just blown away by whoever came up with the punch cards that can be used with millions of puzzles, because there's an app online that has a bunch of different puzzles that you can play, but you use the same cards over and over again. I'd really like to sit down and talk to the designer and figure out how in the world did you work this out to where you can always put these 3 cards together. There's only one hole and it shows the right solution on the card. Just really clever. So if you like deduction games, Turing Machine out now. One of the highlights of the weekend was playing an RPG. Some members of my family have never played anything like that, so my son Travis, who's played a lot of RPG, said, I'll run a game for you. Now, he is really into Pathfinder, so he was more comfortable with that system, but he kind of tailored it to be like Dungeons and Dragons because that's the one that they had heard of. So we all got around the table. We had some pre-gen characters. He taught the rules. They went through like several rounds of combat, ended up playing like 3 hours. But I think he did a really good job of teaching what the grasp of an RPG is, how the mechanics work, how do you read a character sheet, how do you perform tests. And I think everybody came away with a better understanding of what exactly happens when you play an RPG. And hopefully some of them will gravitate to it and start playing up on their own. We had a chance to get another classic game to the table from Floodgate Games' Sagrada. Now this is one of Tony's favorite games, and he has the copy that we have, and he plays it with his wife a lot. My wife Vanessa had not had a chance to play it, and she really loves dice games. So we got to sit down and play this, and she learned it and immediately just really enjoyed it. It is still such a good, solid dice Sudoku style game with a lot of variability. You know, there's expansions for it and everything like that. So I'm really glad that we got a chance to get this to the table and teach her the game. So now maybe I can go see if I can pry the copy from Tony and maybe let me play sometime. One thing I was really looking forward to this weekend was my wife's brother came up from Mississippi. He and his family came up, and he really enjoys the Arkham Horror card game like myself. So we was going to see, can we play through an entire campaign over like, oh gosh, I guess it was like 4 days. Neither one of us had played a campaign that came out last year called Edge of the Earth. So we said, all right, let's do this. We each created a deck before we got together, and then we started playing. And oh my gosh, it was so much fun. This is the first campaign where everything's in one box. With the previous campaigns, they released individual scenarios that you had to collect over time. Now everything is one individual box, so you just one buy and you can play through the entire campaign. A really nice spiral bound notebook to track the campaign, take notes, tell you the story and everything like that. Honestly, I've played, I think, all but one of the campaigns since its release in 2016. The story in this one is got to be one of my favorites. It's based on the Mountains of Madness that H.P. Lovecraft wrote, but it's like a sequel to what happens after that. The story was told really well. It had the feeling of The Thing. It also had that kind of feel to it too. So it was a story that was easy to follow. It was really well written, and the puzzles and the gameplay was really unique. Had a great time playing that. And this is one of those that I think that if you want to get into the game after you buy the core set, jumping onto the Edge of the Earth is a good one to get into because everything is self-contained in that one box. Well, there you go. There's kind of a quick overview of all the games I played over Thanksgiving. And now looking back on it, I probably should have spent some more time maybe outside walking or getting some exercise because I didn't show you the dessert table. So let me show you that real quick. This consisted of get this, a banana pudding cake, some brownies, some apple crisp, some peach crisp, a chocolate trifle. All really good, but whew, I ate entirely too much. Well, let me ask you something. What'd you do over Thanksgiving? Did you play some cool games? Eat some great food? Why don't you tell me about it in the comments? And if you want to, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, like the video, and I have another game night coming up this week, and if there's something interesting that we'll play, maybe I'll share it with you. But in the meantime, I probably need to go exercise or something. Seriously, like a lot.